Welcome to Ian Luff TV. It's a brand new concept where we're going to take you behind the scenes, behind the wheel of many motor vehicles to show you what it's like to be involved in a high-performance driving environment. I've always heard reasons why we have motor vehicle crashes. As you know, they say the car went out of control, when we know, in fact, it has everything to do with the driver. So Ian Luff TV is going to take you behind the scenes, show you what it's about, show you things like performance driving, particularly here at Sydney Dragway where we're based. As we know, the racetrack is the legal environment for racing, not the public roads, and that's part of our Taking Speed Off the Roads campaign. So, I'll be behind the wheel, I get to drive all sorts of things, so stay tuned to Ian Luff TV. It's going to be excitement in the fast lane. Now that is what I call high performance. That's John Calmone in the Pontiac Firebird heating up the rear tyres, about ready to go for his run. That is tyre smoking action, and that's what Ian Luff TV is going to bring you in the future. Stay tuned. I've been asked many times over many years, how does somebody get involved in motorsport? Well, to the credit of drag racing, they've got this incredible category called junior dragsters, and in fact people can start at an incredibly young age. Our new Drive to Survive ambassador, Holly Mills, she started at 13 years of age. Girls versus guys in these little pocket rockets. They only run half track, but it's a great way to get started and it's a great way to keep speed off the roads. Getting traction in drag racing is the key to success or failure, and naturally, tyre pressures balance the motor vehicle. The same as the wheelie bar out the back, that's an integral part of keeping the vehicle nice and straight and on track. When it comes to brute horsepower, there's nothing better than watching a door slammer go down the quarter mile. And one name that's synonymous with that category is Maurice Fabietti. I thought we'd catch up with him to find out what it's like to pilot one of these missiles down the quarter mile. Maurice, we talked the other day and I was fascinated about what it takes to get one of these weapon things off the line and down the quarter mile. Just take us through the process of what you've got to do to get this vehicle so fast, so quickly down the quarter mile.
Well, for starters, you don't just drive to the start line and do a quarter mile run. You've got to get everything up to operating temperature. So first thing you do is, as soon as the motor starts, I put it in top gear. The reason we put it in top gear is you want to spin those tyres as hard and fast as you can. So I'll put it in top gear, run through, we put a little bit of water down to help break the tyres loose, just to take that initial shock off the tyre. That's what you call the traditional burnout, where you're trying to, is that to get the tyres up to temperature properly? To get the tyres, the transmission, the engine, everything up to operating temperature. And also what the burnout does, it puts two clean rubber patches down the track. These things, they make 3,500 horsepower, so traction is ultimate. So we put a nice big long burnout to give you two clean rubber marks to try and run down on top of it. Once we've done the burnout, I usually go at about 8,000 RPM in top gear, so those back tyres are spinning at probably around 220 miles an hour.
Just like we can hear in the background now.
Exactly, okay. 220 miles an hour you're spinning those back tyres and doing a burnout. So you get clouds of smoke, a lot of noise, the crowd just go crazy over.
So what do you have to actually do in the cockpit? You've got a lot of things to go through to get down there in that time.
Yeah, in the burnout, you just got to try and stay in the middle of your lane. It's pretty hairy even doing the burnouts. I've come unstuck in the burnout because those back tyres are spinning like hell and you're just steering it, just making sure, trying to keep it in your lane and going in the right direction.
How's the heart rate when you're doing this?
Oh mate, it's crazy. You know?
I'd imagine.
So, once the engine starts, you forget about everything in the world, you just think about piloting this car down the track.
So really we're talking about a lot of mental commitment here, about thinking about what you've got to do.
Oh, look, these things are a weapon, you know. Once you've done the burnout, you stop, you put it in reverse, start backing up, your crew guy jumps out in front of you and you watch him. He tells you, he directs you where you've got to back up. You've got to back up in your own burnout marks, keep the tyres nice and clean and sticky. Another guy behind the car, he guides the other person where you're going. Once you get to just behind the start line, you stop, make sure you don't go back into the water again. Buttons out into first gear.
So we've achieved the burnout, which you've explained, which is pretty good. So right at this point here, tell us what happens with the controls and what you have to do. Okay,
after you've done the burnout, you backed up and you stop just before the start line. Pull these two buttons. Wow. That puts it back in first gear. Start rolling up to pre-stage. Yep. That gives you 12 inches just before the start line. Yep. So you just stop, make sure everything's right, all your temperatures, all the pressure, everything's right. You move into the stage. As soon as the two stage lights are on, you stop. that means you're ready to go. Press this button, that locks the transmission.
Okay, now you mentioned that the other day. It's a really interesting point. You said this car's running a torque converter.
Yeah, we run a little bit different than most guys in this country. Most guys run a clutch.
Yeah.
We've gone a different way. We put a torque converter instead of a clutch.
So tell people, what's the advantage you believe in running a torque converter over a traditional clutch?
The problem with a clutch is very inconsistent clutch plates. And
so they can bind up and creep.
Well, you get different slippage rates.
Yeah.
And it's also a lot of work between rounds with clutches. You've got to cool them down, you've got to machine them all the time. With a torque converter, you don't do that. It's more consistent and it can be faster, but you've got to get the combination correct.
So at this point in time, righto, so we've gone there, so you've locked up the converter.
So you've gone in a stage, so you're in the right position. You press the button, that locks the transmission. From there, right foot goes flat to the floor, and it brings in a two-stage rev limiter.
Yep.
That holds the engine revving at 5,000 RPM. When you see the amber light come on, let's go, boys. Let the button off, this thing takes off. 0 to 100 Ks in less than 1 second.
0 to 100 in less than 1. And what sort of G-force would you feel on your body?
Off the start line, 3.3 Gs.
I think you told me. It's what about eyeballs in your head?
It's what we're known as eyeballs in, eyeballs out.
Yeah, I can see that. So okay, so you've now launched yourself and you've gone 0 to 100. That's amazing in under a second. You think like a GT3 Porsche is probably about 3.9 seconds or something like that from 0 to 100, and you're doing it in less than a second. That's ballistic. So you're obviously now motoring pretty quickly. What do you have to do?
Right, you wait for the shift light to come on. Once the shift light comes on, that tells you it's set at about 10,000 RPM. Once you see that light, and by the time you react, push this button, that gives you second gear, the engine will be about 10,500 RPM.
So you've got to anticipate that?
Yeah, once you see the light,
yep.
By the time you react, press a button, that gives you second gear, you're doing 10,600. Then the revs will drop a bit because you've changed gears. You wait for it to come on the second time, then you know you've got to press the third gear button.
And by what time are you doing now?
Oh, by now you're probably about 0.4 seconds in, 4 seconds into the run. You know, you're doing about 200 miles an hour, 360 Ks.
Pretty quick, isn't it?
By then you're into top gear, you drop your hand down for the parachute. You wait till you go through the lights, pull the lever, it releases 2 parachutes. Once they deploy, 4.4 negative Gs. This thing's trying to throw you through the windscreen.
So that's like the red out where the eyeball wants to leave the head and hit the helmet. So that's right. That's pretty aggressive Gs, isn't it?
Well, when you're going from 3.3 negative Gs to 4.4 positive Gs, you know, it's eyeballs in, eyeballs out.
I can see what you mean. So give us an idea, what time is this car, what's the best time this has run over the quarter mile?
Run 5.84 seconds at 252 miles an hour.
So 252 miles an hour, what's that?
407 kilometres an hour.
So there you have it, 407 kilometres an hour in 400 metres. This is what we call a weapon fast car, and I guess you could say courtesy of the Holden Trade Club, this is the car to beat for the weekend?
We hope so.
That's what I want to hear.